Now, maybe you have enough status to demand that. But most women aren't hot enough to demand that from the men they're having sex with. And most men aren't good enough. No offense, fellas. Most women aren't going to do all that for. So the stats I've seen said 1 out of 3 women have gotten an STD at some point. But a lot of STDs are curable, right? So, you know, like there's like gonorrhea, chlamydia. These ones are curable. But the ones that really mess up your life, I guess HIV kills you, and herpes is pretty bad too. You can't get rid of that. So yeah, get your beer. Let me know what beer you're having in the chat, fellas. All right, so women have become sexually liberated, and you know, nothing good really has come from it. Modern women honestly believe that they can have sex like men. Body counts are on the rise, and promiscuity is at an all-time high. What comes along with women sleeping around with a lot of men is sexually transmitted diseases. Some of these STDs are curable and a lot are not, with the worst being HIV and herpes. Men in 2025 have to protect themselves when sleeping with modern women. And you know what? I say the same to you, ladies. There's a lot of chads out there that, look, they don't care. I've interviewed some of these guys that have this stuff. They just spread it. They do not care. The women don't care either. And I'm going to tell you guys some stories. Many of them, yeah, we could do a show on HPV a different day. That's another common one. That can give you fellas cancer. All right, so many of these women have diseases and either don't know, don't care, or it's a combination of both. And, you know, none of these scenarios are okay. Imagine you caught something you couldn't get rid of from one of these women. You know, that's what we're going to talk about in today's show, modern women, HIV, and herpes. As of 2022, there are 1.2 million people living with HIV. It is estimated that 13% of people living with HIV don't know and haven't been tested. Women make up 45% of new HIV infections. Men have to be careful when they are sleeping with modern women. You could get the high five and have it for life. Now, I get a lot of, when we're talking about this topic, everyone will, you know, they'll put in their 2 cents. They'll say, what you should be able to tell when a woman has this stuff, I would be able to tell. And men's ego sometimes gets the best of them. Women's too. But I've interviewed personally, 2 digitally, 2 people personally, probably 5 people. I've never actually interviewed someone with AIDS, but herpes, that one's more common. And I'm telling you, you would not be able to guess. I would never have guessed. Okay, so we're going to talk about... Oh, no. And the thing was, when I interviewed these people, I'm gonna do the 2 digital ones I had. There was 2 men, right? And basically, they both got diagnosed with herpes. Now, one of the men decided to do the right thing, so to speak, and tell women before he slept with them that he had it. And he said it killed his dating life. It killed it. It was never the same. He hadn't had sex in years because it was just too stressful and whatever. The other guy decided to, you guessed it, lie. He said, you know what, I'm just going to lie. And he spreads it and he does not care. And he admitted this to me. He said, I do not care. I just, whatever. If they don't even ask. If they don't care, I don't care. And he spreads it around. I'm telling you guys, these, and you could argue the guy that got it, he actually got it from a marriage, one of them. He was married to his wife and she brought home the gift that, you know, keeps on giving. And you wouldn't really guess, you wouldn't guess it would be these guys. Now, even like talking about this stuff, I still feel, I know like I do a show, I chose the topic, but this even makes me feel uncomfortable talking about it. That's why I was looking for a beer before this show, is because I really want to stress to you guys that it's not always the men or the women you think it is. You cannot tell. The one guy, he just looked like a stand-up, middle-class white guy. You would not guess. The other guy, I think, was like Puerto Rican, middle class sales dude. I mean, you could maybe say like, okay, you couldn't know. I'm telling you. So now this is a woman that has it. And I'll talk about some of the other people I've interviewed. No, so, okay. When I asked the guys where they got it, the guy who got it from marriage, yeah, he was raw dogging. Obviously, he thought this was his wife. He was raw dogging, and then boom, got herpes. He said it was the third girl he ever slept with. Isn't that an L? Oh my God, what an L. He said it was his wife, the third woman he ever slept with. Now, the other guy, I interviewed, he also said it was like one of the first people he ever slept with. He said he wore a condom. Now, I don't know. It says it reduces transmission. The PUAs I've interviewed about STDs, and these are guys that are just running through hose, they seem to think that that's impossible. You can't get an STD with a condom outside of like chlamydia. I'm just telling you what the market's telling me, guys. So the PUAs are saying that guy was capping. They said, you know what? You are not going to catch anything if you wear a condom. I've run through like 100 hoes. I've got nothing because I always strapped up. I don't know. I personally, I've never had a run-in with this stuff. Thank God. So I can't tell you. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I know it's uncomfortable, but this is a big part of the dating market. People are afraid of STDs. Sex is coming before relationships these days. People don't know, that people want to know what their risks are when you're doing this stuff. Because otherwise, people are going to die alone if they're not fucking. Unless you find like some girl at the community college maybe, but anyways.
Know who gave me HIV. Yes.
But like, look, does this woman look like she has HIV? I wouldn't guess. Okay, before I go on a date with a woman, I'm going to ask for a checkup for HIV. Okay, let's run this through. Guys, it's hard enough to get laid. Now, maybe you have enough status to demand that. But most women aren't hot enough to demand that from the men they're having sex with. And most men aren't good enough. No offense, fellas. Most women aren't going to do all that for. Okay.
I do.
My privates look like a Rothko painting. JK, I don't know what that means. All right.
So I was monogamously dating somebody just before I met my now husband for 2 or 3 months. And about a month after getting serious with them, I got a really strange viral reaction. It was like mumps, pneumonia, rashes all over my body. It lasted for about a month. And it was just very strange and no doctor could figure out what it was. In hindsight, I now know that was me being...
Okay, an HIV test in her credit score. Let me get this straight. If you get a 22-year-old baddie in front of you, do you really think that you, and I'm not trying to pick on you, or I'm really not trying to pick on you, but unless the guys in the chat are some sort of celebrity or something, you're not going to have the status to really do that. The girl's just going to tell you to F off, Yeah, it's hard enough for men to get laid. You're telling me that you haven't had sex in months. Most men haven't had sex in months. And there's a 22-year-old Latina baddie sitting in front of you. And you said, you know what? And she says, Poppy, take me home. And you're going to say, no, bitch, I need an HIV test. Come on. I don't believe you. Oh, I don't. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest here.
Infected with the HIV virus.
I won't settle. I'm worth it. Well, I don't want to say, look, I'm just being honest with what I would predict, how I would predict that would go. But you are more than welcome to try it. I could ask the PUA guy, because he works with a lot of men.
And as I was only dating that person at the time, And as I was only dating one person at the time, I know who gave it to me just by default. When I did find out that I had HIV, I did contact this person on social media to let them know, hey, I think you gave me HIV. If you don't know already, you should probably get tested. The response I got was a bit surprising, and it suggested that they already knew that they have HIV and didn't disclose this information to me. Luckily for me, as I went from dating this one person to meeting my husband, I haven't been able to pass the virus around to anybody. And for anyone wondering, my husband is negative, he doesn't have HIV. I did not pass it on to him either. But to answer the question, yes, I know who gave me HIV, and it's a bit shit.
What an L. Have you been through a nasty breakup, a false accusation, or divorce court hell? Our private university isn't just about self-improvement. It's about protecting yourself as a man. We brought on legal child support officers, legal experts to teach you how to defend yourself before it happens. Reduce your risk, arm yourself with knowledge. Go to pearlinvite.com, watch the short video, and apply, because nobody is coming to save you, but we can show you how to save yourself. All right, let's see who's got it next. Yeah. You can't get on the Audacity. Doug MPA, can you make a note? We're making updates on the pages this week. I'm signed in with the Pearl Daily page is all I can get. What content are you not getting? Tag Doug MPA in the chat. He'll write it down.
I found out that I had HIV. So at this point, I was already with my ex, the guy who...
Oh, you're saying, oh, he's still married to the girl that gave him herpes? Well, what's he going to do now? Do you know what I mean? But no, he's not. But you'd kind of understand if he was. What's he going to do? Go back out there?
Affected me for about 5 months. The relationship was OD traumatic. I knew he was like not faithful to me, but I never thought that he was like not using protection with other women. At least I made myself believe that. At this point, I didn't have any more like symptoms. Like I already went through the acute stage where I felt like I was literally gonna... However, a couple of symptoms persisted even after that were a little bit more subtle, but just as alarming. The first thing that freaked me out really was that I would have a continual yeast infection. I know it's kind of gross, but it's the reality of HIV. And a continual yeast infection is called thrush. I'm not saying that everyone that has thrush has HIV, but thrush is part of the symptoms of having HIV. And you know, I'm from the hood or whatever, so there's like a little hood doctor. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have insurance at that time. And so, like anytime I needed the yeast infection, like medication, I would just go to the hood doctor. So something that I forgot to mention is that the acute stage is basically the stage where you are most symptomatic. But once you're done with that phase, you are no longer symptomatic in like very overt ways, but you still have certain symptoms that are very subtle. Like you have a lot of fatigue, thrush, like yeast infection, like discharge, the whole thing. And the second thing that really freaked me out was the fact that it was literally painful to have intercourse. And so at this point, I was taking clindamycin about like once every 2 weeks. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the doctor. Even though I don't have insurance, I could go to the clinic and get tested and tell them what's going on since it is down there. The day before I went, I had this sinking feeling in my spirit, like in my gut. I knew that I was going to get bad news. So I show up to the clinic, I get tested. When you get tested, you know, you do the full panel, you only get results for your HIV, like rapid results day of. Everything else you have to wait. Someone comes out and calls my number because they can't see your name. They sit me down and they just break it to me like, you tested positive for HIV. My world literally shattered into a million pieces. So that is how I found out that I was HIV positive.
Yeah, she took an L. Yep, Octavius gave it to her. You just don't know. You never know who has it.